Discovery class, Merry Christmas. When you receive this broadcast, it's going to be Christmas Day, and you're in for a wonderful surprise. Because I've got Frida with me here on the Grand, and I'm going to give you the history of 12 of our best Christmas carols. And I'm going to go through and tell you the history, and at the end of each of my histories, Frida is going to play the carol. And our first selection is going to be I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. Now this carol was composed by a famous American poet by the name of Henry Wordsworth Longfellow. It came to us at a very high price. The year was 1860. The American Civil War was just breaking out, where father fought son and son fought, or brother fought brother. And in those years, the American home did not have any electricity. They were lit with candles and coal oil lamps. Longfellow's wife died from a severe burn after her dress caught fire, and he sustained severe burns to his hands and his face, so much in trying to save his wife that he wasn't able to attend her funeral. Now, the Civil War was just beginning. His son, he joined the Northern Army, the Union Army, against his father's will, and he was mortally wounded. On Christmas morning in 1863, Longfellow was walking the streets of Philadelphia, and as he was walking, he could hear the pealing of the bells from the church steeples. And he goes home and he writes this beautiful Christmas carol. It begins with triumph, dips into tragedy, and then it comes back into triumph again. And the words are, I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play. And wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And then came the thoughts of the Civil War to Longfellow. And he was thinking about all the sorrow. Because remember, in that war that lasted for 3.5 years, 750,000 American soldiers died. And as he was thinking that, then he wrote one of the verses after he wrote the first one. And here's what he said. From that black, accursed mouth, the cannon thundered in the south, and with the sound, the carols drowned of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And then Longfellow's heart turned stony, because he thought, my wife is gone, my son is gone. And then he gets down to the 6th verse, and he says, in deep despair, I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said. For hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And then almost as if the clouds clear and the sun comes out. And then he begins to think that God in heaven, he's the head of the war. There's no war on earth that he isn't greater than. And his wife and his son are in his care now. So that last verse tells the whole thing as they went right back up into triumph again. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor does he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. Now listen as Frida tells the story in song. shepherds watched their flock by night, all seated on the ground, the angel of the Lord came down, and glory shone around. The author of this lovely carol was an Irishman by the name of Nahum Tate. He was born in Dublin in 1652. The son of an Irish clergyman, he was educated at Trinity College, and during his time, there were no Christmas carols sang in churches in Ireland, because all their songs came from the Psalter, the old Psalms. Tate's carol became the most popular Christmas song at Christmas time throughout Ireland. And after it was composed, a very famous musician put the words to music. Do you know who that musician was? It was Friedrich Handel, the writer of the Great Messiah. Now with Frida, while shepherds watch their flocks by night. Angels from the realms of glory, wing your flight o'er all the earth. Ye who sang creation's story, now proclaim Messiah's birth. Come and worship, come and worship. Worship Christ, the newborn King. This carol was written December the 24th, 1816, in London, England. The author was James Montgomery. His parents were Moravian missionaries in the West Indies. And while attending a Moravian seminary in England, young James received the word of the sudden death of both his parents on the mission field. Instead of becoming a preacher, James Montgomery left the seminary, and at the age of 23, he was appointed the editor of the great newspaper in England, the Sheffield Register. He maintained his position there for 31 years. Twice he was imprisoned for writing controversial issues. He detested slavery. He was sent to prison because of his writings. During his stay in one of those prison stays, that Christmas Eve on December the 24th, 1816, this beautiful carol was born. Angels from the realms of glory. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all all is bright. Round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. This carol was written by Joseph Mohr. He was born in the city of Salzburg in Austria in 1792. He was ordained to the priesthood of the Roman Catholic Church. He was serving the Church of St. Nicholas high in the Alps of Obernorf in Tyrolia, Austria. With Christmas Eve coming, the organ in the church broke down. The reason was that that fall they had a terrible rainstorm, and the church got flooded, and so did the organ, and the organ was out of commission. There'd be no music that Christmas Eve service in his little church. That night he was walking home, and he saw the starlit stillness of that snowy mountain region, and Joseph Mohr went to his room and he penned these gorgeous words. They were sung on Christmas Eve, not with the organ, but with a guitar. And it's now one of the most loved carols all over the world. Frida's going to play it. Many of you that are watching our Discovery class are going to be watching this on Christmas Sunday morning. You're going to be opening your gifts, you're going to be stuffing the turkey, you're going to be setting the table. I want you to play this again and again. And as you hear Frida playing, we can't sing in the church. It's not allowed because you're going to be allowing the virus to spread because of our voices. But I want you to sing in your home with your family. And you'll enjoy the songs because you know all the carols. And with Frida playing, you couldn't have better accompaniment. Joy to the world, the Lord, let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. This writer of the carol was Isaac Watts. The carol was published in 1719. The carol became the most published Christmas hymn in North America in the 20th century. Isaac Watts was a congregational minister in England. He was born in Southampton in 1674. Watts had a classical education. He went to King Edward School. He was learned in the language of Latin and Greek and Hebrew. And he felt called to Mark Lane Congregational Chapel in London. He ushered in a new era of worship outside the singing of the Psalms. His music was simple, it was logical, and even children could sit down with him and sing. Joy to the world, let earth receive her King. O holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices. Fall on your knees, O hear the angel voices. O night divine, O night when Christ was born. This carol was published in 1847 in France. The composer was Adolphe Adam. The organ in the church had just been recently renovated. The pastor asked the congregation if someone out there on Christmas Eve could compose a new hymn to celebrate this wonderful organ that's now been renewed. In the congregation was a man by the name of Adolphe Adam. He was a teacher. He was also a musician. His hymn was born. He wrote the music, and the words for this wonderful Christmas carol was sung that Sunday morning in 1847. Can't you picture the choir, the audience, singing O Holy Night, the stars are brightly shining. Discovery class, I have in my office a trolley from our kitchen. And on the trolley, I have 75 hymn books. If this virus continues and you can't come to class and I can't see you, I want you to do something for me. Would you phone me or write or text and tell me what your favorite hymn is? And what Frida is doing today with the carols, I'm going to do early in the year with the hymns. And I'll have Frida back, and we'll do just exactly what you're seeing with some of those favorite hymns from your hymn book. Now back to the carols. Long time ago in Bethlehem, so the Holy Bible say, Mary's boy child, Jesus Christ, was born on Christmas Day. Listen, hear the angels sing, a new king born today, and man will live forevermore because of Christmas Day. The composer of this carol was a man by the name of Chester Harrison. He was sharing a room with a friend in California. It was Christmas Eve, 1956. And together they were celebrating a Christmas party with some of their West Indian friends. And because Harrison was musical, he was asked to compose a Christmas piece to a calypso rhythm. And this song was born. Sometime later, Walter Schumann, who was conducting the Hollywood Choir, he asked Harrison to sheet music this carol for his choir to sing. It was so popular and it was so successful that Harry Belafonte heard about it, and he asked if he could record that carol for his song. He did, and it shot to the top of the charts. And because of that leading song, it became the best song sung in the year 1957. Long time ago in Bethlehem. For those of you that haven't come to our discovery class, and I know you will as soon as we're back in business, one of the traditions we do at the beginning of the class is sing happy birthday to all those that had a birthday that week or maybe an anniversary. And we all sing. I've got sopranos, I've got altos, I've got basses, I've got tenors. And it sounds like the gorgeous choir that you can't imagine is sung. I'm going to break up in the middle of this, and Frida's going to play for me. Happy birthday to you. And all of you that didn't have your birthday, sung to you with your name, we're playing catch up. Frida, play it for us. The first Noel, the angel did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, keeping their sheep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Of all the carols that I researched, this one I found to be the most difficult for its origin and its details. It first appeared in a choir chamber in 1833 in the district of Cornwall in England. The New Oxford Book of Carols, which I used for my research, it details its origin, and the melody is unusual among the English folk melodies in that it consists of one musical phrase, repeated twice, followed by a refrain, which is a variation of that phrase. I love its melody. Children's choirs and Christmas songs that are sung by the family, they adore its rhythm because it flows so beautifully, with a little benediction at the tail end which says, "Born is the King of Israel." Frida's going to play for us the first Noel. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph in the skies. Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. This carol first appeared in 1739 in England, and two of the founding ministers of Methodism are attributed to its writing. They're Charles Wesley and George Whitefield. The music for the carol was composed by Felix Mendelssohn, the famous musician. The carol, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, was regarded as one of the great four Anglican hymns published in the Church Hymn Book in New York in 1872. King's College Chapel in Cambridge University has for many years used this carol as their recessional. And if you ever go to Cambridge, go to the King's College and visit that chapel. It's one of the prettiest inside churches in the entire world. Picture them singing this as they leave that chapel, entitled, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. O come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. O come ye to Bethlehem. O come and behold him, born the King of angels. O come, let us adore him. Originally written in Latin, this carol was Adeste Fidelis. This Christmas carol was written by John Francis Wade in the 17th century. Wade was an English Catholic who lived in exile in France. He published the carol in 1751. Many hymns and carols published in those early years had to be approved by the Vatican before they could be accepted as corporate worship in the church. This carol was not accepted. It wasn't really fit, they felt, to be sung in church. This man, John Francis Wade, went beyond the Catholic Church, and he went beyond the Vatican, and he had his church sing this carol, over which the Vatican said, sounds good to me. I think we better accept it. So it became the anchor stone for Christmas carols in every church across the nations until this day. O come, all ye faithful. Brentview Church, next year is a special year for us as a congregation because we're going to celebrate our birthday. We're going to be 60 years of age. Frida on the piano, her husband Wally, are charter members of our church. They were here the day that our church was born. Frida's brother was the pastor of this church when it was born. His name was Reuben Herman. And after those long 60 years, we still have one of the best couples in our church right here on the piano, and behind me is Wally. What a celebration we're going to have next year. I know you're going to be here to celebrate with me, and I know Frida will be one of the center of fold in that celebration. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. This carol was written by an English composer named James Chadwick. The song's subject is the birth of Jesus Christ, as narrated in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2. James Chadwick was a Roman Catholic bishop in the town of Hexham, H-E-X-H-A-M. Hexham is located in northern England, not very far from Newcastle on Tyne. When Mary and I walked Hadrian's Wall, this town of Hexham is just 7 miles south of that wall. When you go to the cathedral, and it's a beautiful cathedral, I want you to look at all the stone in that chapel and in that entire church. Do you know where they came from? They came from Hadrian's Wall. They were all stolen rocks. And if you go and see this chapel, it is the most gorgeous thing in northern England. All right, it was in that chapel that this man, James Chadwick, wrote this gorgeous hymn, Angels We Have Heard on High. And what he did, he wrote this as a tribute to the ladies' choir in his church. And he wanted something that they could sing that was very special, that they could say, this is mine. Well, it was theirs, because it was written by their pastor. Angels we have heard on high. We've now come to the final carol of the 12 that I have just mentioned. This one is entitled, O Little Town of Bethlehem, How Still We See Thee Lie. Above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. Yet in thy dark street shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. This carol was written in 1868 by a preacher named Phillips Brooks. He was born in Boston in 1835, graduated from Harvard, trained at the Episcopal Theological Seminary, and his church was Trinity Church in Boston. The church Sunday school superintendent asked Pastor Brooks if he would write a poem for the little children to recite at their little Christmas concert. This is what he wrote, O Little Town of Bethlehem. Now this Mr. Brooks, he was a bachelor. He never married. He stood 6'6". He loved children. And he kept a supply of toys and dolls in his study. And often mothers would come by with their little children, and Phillips Brooks would leave his desk, and he'd get down on his hands and knees and play with these little children. When he died very suddenly, a little 5-year-old girl was upset because she had not seen her preacher friend for some weeks. And she said to her mother, "Where is Pastor Brooks?" The mother said, "Honey, Pastor Brooks died. He's gone to heaven." The little 5-year-old thought and then said, "Mommy, oh, how happy the angels in heaven must be." Discovery class, you have just enjoyed 12 of some of the finest carols we sing in this church. Frida's been our accompaniment. And if you notice in front of her, she hasn't used any sheet music. Every carol she played by heart. Frida, as we go, would you wish a Merry Christmas to all my family out there?
Merry Christmas to all our friends from Brentview and all around the world if you're watching. And hope you have a blessed time in this COVID season. God will bless you.
We're so honored to have Frida. Now don't you forget, you have an invitation to send me some of your finest hymns. I'm going to give you their background. We're going to repeat just what you saw here today. And Frida will play for us, and I know you'll sing right along when we do. I conclude each one of my classes with a little note from the sunny side of the street. Something to put a smile on your face as we go. There was a young Chinese immigrant who came to Canada, and he was traveling by train. And when he got to his station, the worst thing happened. They lost his bag. They couldn't find it. He went into the train station and he talked to the baggage manager. "Did you find my bag?" "No, but you wait. We will find it." So he waited an hour. And then he waited 2 hours. He waited 3 hours. Finally, he couldn't take any more, so he went out and he began to use whatever little English he had. And this is what he said to the baggage manager. "Pretty rotten seldom does bag go. You no more fit run station than my sake. That's all I hope." And then he left. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you for coming to class today. And for Frida and Wally, we give them our sincere thanks.